Hey everyone, this is my first attempt at making a video guide for Diablo 2 Hardcore. I play Hardcore only on single player. I've passed on Players 1 with all classes. I've passed with all classes on Players 8 as well. And the reason why I'm doing Bowazon is because just yesterday I saw this video about, well, the same Bowazon guide, and this guy had perfect gear, like a perfect faith in a perfect base Grandmatron bow with free to bow and crossbow skills. He had like this awesome corona or tiara, whatever, with 30% faster run walk and free sockets, and he socketed with, again, perfect 15 increased attack speed, 40 enhanced damage, jewels. And what this guy said is that Bowazon, even with this gear, it's only viable for Players 1 and you can't do Players 8. And since literally just last week I finished with this Bowazon on Players 8, actually since then had this character respec into Bowazon, and just for this video I respeced it again into Bowazon just to showcase it. Yeah, since I did it, I mean it's completely viable, so I thought I'd just make a video out of it and yeah, just go from there. So first things first, if you're looking for killing speed, this Bowazon will not provide that on Players 8. That's without a doubt. But then again, on Players 8 and Hardcore and single player, nothing really provides kill speed except for Hammerdins. That's literally the only class. And if you think Hammerdins are OP, then you're kind of wrong, because you can die easily with them. Even with pretty awesome gear, 90 maxed out resistances to 90, and you know, Holy Freeze, Merc, you can still die quite easily just because of how much damage you take if you don't have like Call to Arms and yeah, perfect block and so on. Yeah, so back to the Bowazon. I'll start with skills. I'm running 1-2 each passive. I have more points into penetrate just to increase my attack rating, and depending on your gear, how many plus skills you've got, perhaps you want to put more into penetrate. Like usually you want to put at least 5 points here, 5 to 10. 1 to 5 in critical strike, 1 to 5 in pierce. In dodge, void, and evade, just 1 is fine. I don't think they're important enough individually to put more points into them. Depending on on the player count you're playing on, whether it's Players 1 or Players 8, you want to put from 10 to 20 points in Valkyrie. I mean, probably just go with 20 points into Valkyrie regardless. It's just the best tank in the game. It's way more tanky than your Merc can ever get, unless it has something like Reaper's Toll, which I still don't have. For Javelin, I'm using my Charge Strike as the skill to kill immunes. So I have it maxed out, as well as 10 points into Power Strike, just as a prerequisite, and you know, as a synergy. And for bow skills, I'm using pretty much maxed out Strafe. And since again I just respec this character again into Bowazon, I don't remember where I put the last 7 points. I think it was probably just in critical strike, penetrate, and pierce, somewhere around there. Do not try and put more points into multiply shot. It just really isn't worth it. Like 8, what is it, 9 arrows? Yeah, 9 arrow. 10 arrows. That's just absolutely plenty. If you have less skills, even if you don't have, like, let's say Annie and Torch, which I do. I was lucky enough to get this. 6 arrows is still plenty. You won't be using the multiply shot that much. And with high enough pierce, your 6 arrows from multi-shot will do the job. So yeah, you can put the rest into the guided arrow, but honestly you'll only be using this when you're kiting a couple of mobs. Let's say a really annoying pack of elites with some nasty mods, or something like ancients, or Diablo, Bale. That's pretty much the only times you'll be using guided arrow. I tried, instead of using charge strike, I tried using other sources of elemental damage. Tried using freezing arrow. That didn't really work out. I tried using cold arrow. If you're playing on players 1, then just 1 point into cold arrow is kind of enough to take care of physical immunes. Even in magic arrow is enough. I mean, it kind of depends on your gear, but it's kind of enough. And yeah, if you're playing on players 1 with a good base bow, then probably you don't need to use charge strike. And especially if you have some source of amplify damage or decrepify to remove those physical immunes completely. Yeah, so onto the gear. I'm using Perfect Faith. I was lucky enough to get a Ja rune and then just cubed up from Mal to Om. Yeah, the roll is insane. The base isn't, it's only +1 to bow and crossbow skills, but it's good enough. You can also use the base as a, which was it? Yeah, matriarchal bow, but I just couldn't get it 4 sockets. In that case, you would need less increased attack speed on your other items, as you do with Grand Matron bow, but I mean, that's just what I found, and it looks way better than matriarchal bow, so I decided to use this. If you're looking for more budget options, then probably you can't do players 8. It would be really annoying, and unless, I mean, the obvious exception is Wind Force. If you have Wind Force and ideally some sort of decrepify or amplify damage source on, let's say, Atmas, Amulet, or your Merc has a Reaper's Toll, then Wind Force will be just as good. More budget options, if you're playing on, let's say, players 1, then pretty much a lot of unique bows will do the job. Let's say Witch-Willed String. It also takes care of your immunes and has a huge deadly strike, which isn't as great as it would be on something like a Zealot or a Barbarian, since you already have over 50% critical strike. And yeah, every single point into doubling your damage after 50%, it just has diminishing returns, since there's a higher chance that you would have already procced your double damage even if you didn't have that extra point in it. So it's not that great, but just casting the amplify damage with your crazy attack speed on strafe is just procs frequently. And yeah, something like what was it, Lycander's bow. It had, I think, pretty good enhanced damage. So that can be used as well. I don't think I have too many good bows. Gold Strike is okay. It has pretty good enhanced damage. It has increased attack speed. And yeah, just bonus attack rating, bonus damage to demons, bonus damage to undead. It's pretty good bow. So that's another budget option. Apart from that, I don't think I have anything worthwhile. I tried going with Mage Wrath. It's not too good. The hit blinds target is kind of useless. It has good base damage, but that's about it. So yeah, those are the options. For my armor, I'm using Treachery. It's probably second best armor you can get for a Bowazon. The first being Fortitude with 300% enhanced damage, but Fortitude requires a low. That's a really high rune, and to this day I couldn't find it, despite having runes like Freezers and a Cham. I had a Jaw. I cubed up a couple of arms, and yeah, I still couldn't get a low, so I'm using Treachery. The increased attack speed lets me reach the maximum attacks per frame, or well, basically the maximum attack speed for my normal attacks, basically for guided arrow and multi-shot. Venom adds quite a bit of damage. I think it's like 300 for a level 15, so that's nothing to ignore. And of course Fade, which is a huge boost to your resistances. Like I'm running my usual gear, I'm running around 35% of each resistance, and once the Fade procs I have 75 in all, as well as the hidden effect of Fade, just 20% I think, or even 30% damage reduction. Just really huge. And especially when you're playing more glass cannon builds like this Bowazon, I only have 1.1k HP, so the damage reduction is absolutely crucial for a hardcore character. And that's pretty much why I'm also running Vampire Gaze, just for the damage reduction. Again, 17%. It also gives some magic damage reduced, which is important versus continuous attacks. Like, I think Diablo's one of the skills, that, fiery thing that isn't exactly fire, that does a lot of damage per tick, and since each tick gets reduced by 13, it's actually a really significant damage reduction that it comes from this. Alternative options for helms would be, the first that comes to mind is Endariel's Visage. Again, attack speed, lifesteal. The strength isn't as useful. Poison Nova isn't as useful, but pretty much attack speed and plus to all skills, and some lifesteal. And since I don't have too many plus skills, like the only plus skills I have is in my bow, in my Amulet, and then Torch and Annie. Those plus skills on Endariel's Visage would be really valuable, because the way that Amazons, or just about any character's passive skills work, like let's take natural resistances, Barbarian skill for example, or weapon block or Fade on an assassin. Like every additional skill point you put into those skills, it provides less value. So the first skill points provide the most value. Like if the first skill for critical strike provided 25% or something, the second one provided additional 7, and basically all the way down to 8th point, the next point only adds 3. So it's like half as effective as my second skill into it. So since I don't have too many skills at the moment, those plus skills on Andariel's Visage are quite valuable. Another option for a helm would be, I mean, even Black Thorns is okay just for some safety. Like, don't underestimate the slowest target by 20%. It's pretty fucking huge. Couple that with a knockback and nobody will ever reach you. You can also use Telrashas just for the double leech and all resistances and some life. It's a pretty good budget, though on players 8 it's not as good. Like on players 8 you want more safety and just damage reduction. It's just so hard to come by, so Vampire Gaze I think it's a really good option. I don't know about all the high-end stuff. Like I said, I'm a single player, so I've never had like 3 Saga tiaras with 30% faster run walk and then 3 perfect increased attack speed, enhanced damage jewels. I just don't have the budget, and I imagine if anyone is watching this guide, he probably doesn't either. So yeah, let's leave those aside. For the Amulet, I'm using High Lords. Like I said, plus to all skills is quite valuable since I don't have too many of them. Increased attack speed is a must to reach the attack frame I want. Lightning resist is nice. The Deadly Strike mod is rather useless. Like it has 33% Deadly Strike. So in practice it's about 15, since Critical Strike and Deadly Strike they work separately. And basically the way your damage is calculated is, first it checks if it was a critical strike, and then if it wasn't, then it checks if it's a deadly strike. So basically half of the time I'll hit a critical strike and then my deadly strike won't activate, and then half of the time, 2/3 of the time, my deadly strike won't activate. So in practice it's closer to 15% actual chance to double my damage than 33%, because yeah, like half of the time I've already hit my critical strike. Another option would be Cat's Amulet, which actually increases my damage more than High Lords, but I really like the resistances and plus to all skills, so that's why I chose this. But yeah, Cat's Amulet is just as good. The faster run walk is really nice, though it's for hardcore it's probably not as great, since you kind of sacrifice convenience for survivability. But yeah, I mean, it's reasonable. Dexterity is probably the biggest boost on this amulet. And ideally what you want on your amulet is Atmos, which gives you a chance to cast Decrepify or Amplify damage, just basically removing all physical immunes. And therefore you won't need like a offhand with a javelin. You'll be able just to take care of everything with your bow. Rings, I'm using dual Ravenfrost. Another option you can go for is actually switching one of the Ravenfrost for a Dwarf Star. I think this ring is like seriously underrated, especially for hardcore. There's like two stats you really want for hardcore, and one of them is elemental damage absorb percentage. The second one is damage reduced by percent, because maxing out resistances to 75% is nice, but it's not what really keeps you alive. It's like maxing out resistances make you take less damage, but having an additional percentage of absorb, that's what makes you really tanky. And I've had numerous paladins and sorcerers and even Amazon die with max resistances just because they had no source of absorb. And all the hate for those burning souls that cast just lightning, which just rips through you. Try putting on Thunder Gods, and you'll be absolutely fine. You won't even feel anything from them. Even on players' hate, they won't be that scary. That's just how huge this absorb damage is. So yeah, actually swapping one Raven Frost for a Dwarf Star is a reasonable option. And if you're looking for more budget options, and even if not so budgety, but you have the specific problem of not having enough attack rating and just not hitting frequently enough, just use Angelic. Angelic Ring plus Angelic Amulet. I mean, it adds 4 times as much attack rating as a perfect Raven Frost. Well, a bit less, but let's see. I have 17,000 right now, and if I switch, I have 11,000, 11.7. So it's just huge. I mean, it's a 4 additional percent to hit your opponent. And yeah, plus to life, plus to dexterity is also good. The damage taken to mana is useless. Light radius is useless. Replenish life is useless. But yeah, if attack rating is all you need, then definitely go for this setup. For my belt, I'm using Nosferatus. Increased attack speed and slows target by 10%, as well as 15 to strength. Like 15 to strength effectively means I can put 15 points into dexterity or vitality. 15 hard points, which is fucking huge. Like I would say strength on items is the best stat to have. It's better than having plus vitality or plus dexterity, because for strength you never need hard points, except if you're I don't even know if there's any exceptions. And yeah, it just allows you to use your hard points into other stuff like vitality and receive all those bonuses for your health and so on. So definitely a great stat. And yeah, slows target by 10%. It's not significant, but it's a little bit, so it's good. Increased attack speed and lifesteal. Yeah, just a really well-rounded belt. Another option is, of course, Razor Tail, which provides a piercing attack. I think it's in practice it provides 33% piercing attack. So coupled with 1 point into pierce, and you have close to 100% pierce attack. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So that's definitely a good option. A more budget option would be something safe, and a really common belt is String of Ears, which provides you a significant damage reduced, as well as magic damage reduced. So yeah, you can use that. I'm not sure if there's anything else you really want to use. Perhaps Night Smoke if you really need the resistances, though I think you can get a rare belt with more resistances than this, because in practice what all resistances 10 means is that you get plus 30 resistances, and on rare belts you can probably get at least 40. So yeah, I mean, it depends on what you really need. The boots I'm using is Gore Riders, though I really don't like it. The Crushing Blow is not as effective on ranged characters. It gets like half the effect, and especially if you're playing players 8, the way Crushing Blow scales with the player count, it actually scales to the worst side, if you can say that. Like, if on players 1 oh, sorry about that. If on players 1, if your Crushing Blow gets procced on 100% HP mob, it takes what, 1/8 of the mob's health. On players 8, it will take not 1/8, but even less. I'm not sure if it's 1/16 for 1/24 for even less. It's just, I know it scales down, and that coupled with the fact that Crushing Blow is less effective for ranged attacks, I think it gets half the effect. It just becomes so insignificant that your raw damage, your raw physical damage, just becomes more important. Deadly Strike, again, in practice, since you already have over 50% in your chance to critical strike, your actual additional chance to double damage is closer to 7.5% than 15. And again, you have, if you're using High Lords, you have 33% here, so it's just really useless. So the only mod that's really nice on War Boots is 10% chance of open wounds. And yeah, just for this mod, it's really not worth it. The only reason I'm currently with those boots is because my sorceress last week died with my War Travelers, and yeah, I was using them just for the raw damage it had. I mean, War Travelers add, I think, 15 to 25 damage. Let me just quickly check it. Yeah, it adds 15 to 25 damage, so that's all that damage gets amplified by all my enhanced damage, by my critical strikes and so on. So it's a significant boost to my damage, as well as War Travelers offer vitality and strength, so that's also huge. And yeah, those are much better option. But honestly, for the boots, there's not too many great options. Like, I would even consider crafting something. You could use, I think, Hotspurs offer some maximum fire resist if you don't want to use Dwarf Star just for safety. Sandstorm for some stats. Like, faster hit recovery is useless since you're never being hit anyway. And if you're getting hit, then no faster hit recovery will help you. Water Walk, that's probably a more decent option just for the 15 dexterity and just, more damage. I guess boots with resistances make some sense. Oof, this is tough talking. Yeah, if you can get some rare boots with, where were my highest resistances? Yeah, something like 90 resistances, or yeah, 90. No, that's 70. 70, not 90. Sorry. Yeah, those are quite nice. Just take care of your resistances, so you don't have to use all these charms for resistances. yeah, so those are your options. And for gloves, like in most guides, you will see laying of hands as the best option, just for the 20 increased attack speed, fire resist to free up some space in your inventory, and of course the 350% damage to demons. I mean, it's as much, even more than my faith is providing. It's only giving 330% enhanced damage, and this one is 350. So this is huge. But what I found myself doing is actually for the better part of the game using just Clegg Laws. And the knockback is huge. It's absolutely fucking huge. Slowest target is also nice, and versus something like Hell Ancients, I've been using Clegg Laws just to slow them and make sure I'm safe. Especially when your fade disappears or it doesn't proc, then making sure that nobody gets near you is absolutely crucial. So, yeah, I mean, with Clegg Laws, the only issue I've had is that I couldn't reach maximum attack speed even with Faith equipped, even with level 15 Fanaticism. I had 45 here, 10 here, 20 here, so that's 75. I had a 15% increased attack speed jewel inserted into my Vampire Gaze. Again, my other character died with that Vampire Gaze, so I don't have it anymore. So I reached 90% attack speed, and I think the last frame for normal attacks, for the maximum attack speed for when using a normal attack is 92. You literally can't reach it without gloves. Or you can, if you're planning on using Faith, you can use a different base, which would be Matriarchal Bow, and in that case, you wouldn't need as much attack speed on your other items. But yeah, what I ended up using was basically slow target Clegg Laws gloves, and I tried crafting some gloves. There's basically which was it? I think it's safety. No, it's hit power gloves, just for the knockback. Some increased attack speed. I've probably crafted like 20 of them. I still couldn't get a single one decent, but it's one of the things I'm crafting, so perhaps one day I'll get decent gloves, like let's say 20% attack speed, knockback, some strength, life, and then resistances. So that'd be perfect. But yeah, another option if you don't have these gloves is crafting blood gloves. I've also crafted a shit ton of them. This is just my most recent craft. Yeah, basically what you're looking for is, again, increased attack speed, life steal, crushing blow, strength, life, resistances. What's the best that I have? Javelin. These are probably the best I've ever crafted, but they're still not that great. Like, the only thing they have going for them is life and resistances, like 26 resistances in total. So yeah, those are probably the main options. And in my inventory, I'm just using enough resistances charms to have some decent resistances before the fate procs. Once the fate procs, it gives me like 50 to all. So I will have all of them maxed out, except the poison, which I don't give a shit about. You can always just TP to town and heal up. Other charms are, of course, as much maximum damage as you can get, as much attack rating as you can get, and then as a third mod, ideally you're looking for life or
you know, some cold damage maybe, faster run walk, stuff like that. And yeah, Anion Torch. Was lucky enough to get a torch for Amazon, one of my 5 torches or so. 2 of them are dead now, but well, what you can do. um, and yeah, last thing is my switch. I'm using Storm Shield plus Thunderstroke. Storm Shield just for the damage reduced, which is kind of debatable. Like perhaps I should be using Spirit. Um, but nah, actually, Storm Shield is really good. It gives you chance to block, the perfect chance to block. It requires less strength than Spirit, so I only have 130. With Spirit, I need to use 26 more points, and I'd be losing either a lot of health, which I can't afford, or a lot of dexterity, which equals damage. Um, for your javelin, I mean, I have F Titans and Thunderstroke. In my particular case, Thunderstroke make more sense because the only skill that I'm using is Charge Strike. So basically, it's a really slow attack, which relies on lightning damage only. Because if it's physical damage that I want, I just switch my weapon to bow and I kill them. So I only need lightning damage from my charge strike, from my offhand. That's why Thunderstroke is the clear winner here. It provides increased attack speed, which means more lightning damage each second. It provides 20% chance to cast a lightning spell, which isn't significant, but it adds up, as well as minus 15 to enemy lightning resistances, so effectively 15% more damage, and 1 to 500 lightning damage, which is again pretty huge since all I need is lightning damage. And what Titans provide is basically more stats, more skills, but those skills don't really compete with 500 lightning damage, level 14 lightning, and 15 to enemy lightning resistances. And yeah, faster run walk is nice, damage is nice, but again, I'm not using physical damage. Strength and dexterity, I'm not using physical damage, so I don't care. So that's why Thunderstroke is a clear winner. Last thing is probably the Merc. I'm using Duriel Shell. I think it's probably the best easy to find armor you can put on your Merc. Since it has cannot be frozen, it has great defense. This is an upped one. Like I can show a non-upped one. Let's see, where was it? No, I had a couple of them at least. Huh? Well, perhaps I put them on something. What? Well, anyway, if it wasn't upped, it would have like 700 armor, like 650, somewhere around that. And yeah, just huge bonuses to resistances, and most importantly, cannot be frozen. If you're looking for a more budget option, cannot be frozen is a really tough mod to find. Like, there's only a few items. The only rune that provides that is Cham, which I mean isn't laying everywhere on the map. So yeah, great option here. If you have the money, just use Fortitude or you know, with like Kira's Guardian for the cannot be frozen on your helm. Another decent options are basically any armor with damage reduced percent. So basically, Leviathans, which again I lost last week. This is fucking annoying. The Gladiator's Bane is also a decent option. Actually, might be even better than Yeah, he doesn't have max resistances. If you have resistances somewhere elsewhere, then the Gladiator's Bane becomes even better than that Duriel Shell. But the Gladiator's Bane isn't really a budget option. It's quite a bit tougher to find. And then something like Rock Fleece is okay. You can up this at least once for a more decent defense. Damage reduced by 10%. That's something. There's of course Shaft Stop. What was it? Shaft Stop. Yeah. Mesh armor. Damage reduced by 30%. That's also an option. Since I don't have an armor with damage reduced, I'm using Vampire Gaze. A more budget option that I've been using for a really long time before Vampire Gaze just started dropping left and right for me. I was using Talrash's helmet. It gave a huge boost to resistances, life, and health leech. So yeah, that's a budget option. And for the weapon, I'm using a pretty underrated, I would say, Runeward Lawbringer. I mean, it's nowhere the high-end stuff, and I wish I had like a Reaper's Toll for the same Decrepify just on Act 2 Merc, but unfortunately I don't have it. And Sanctuary Aura is really awesome. Like, there's quite a few annoying monsters that are both physical immunes and undeads. And even if they're not physical immunes, if they're still undeads, it's really awesome. Just to constantly knock them back, make sure you're absolutely safe while, just trying to kill this one mob finally. It's an awesome rune word, and it's pretty much how I passed player state with Frenzy Barbarian. I had a Lawbringer made into a Faceblade, and yeah, it just allowed me to deal enough damage. So this is one of the options you can use for your Merc. Another option that I was running before I decided to try this out, and to be fair, I'm not sure if this option is the better one. Like, I couldn't find any significant difference between this and then the previous one. So the previous one was Act 2 Nightmare Offensive Merc with Might Aura, and he was running, I think, Treachery. What was it? I know Vampire Gaze for sure, then Obedience in Cryptic Axe, which I don't have because it's dead. Well, fuck me. Yeah, Obedience is a pretty cheap rune word and only needs Fal and Co, which are like middle tier runes. If you just do some Countess runs on Hell, you'll be sure to find them easily. Huge all resistances boost, huge faster hit recovery, enhanced damage, minus target damage, and crushing blow. I mean, it's just really insane. It's probably the best budget weapon for your Merc, along with Insight. I mean, in a decent. This is my starting Insight. I should probably place it elsewhere. But yeah, Treasure deals more damage. It still doesn't come close to Obedience, but if you need Meditation Aura, then it's the best option. But yeah, Obedience is pretty awesome. And in my F Cryptic Axe, instead of 155 to 705 damage, I had like 200 to 1000. So my Merc, with Fanaticism from my bow, he's currently dealing 1.2k. Let's just go somewhere else. Yeah, 1.5k. So with my Fanaticism and his Might Aura, he was dealing 8k damage. So basically, he was just tearing things apart, even on players 8. But since switching to this setup with the Lawbringer, like, I'm not sure which one is better. Like, in this case, the Bowazon herself deals more damage because of the Cripify. In that case, the Merc was doing a lot for me. And since I kind of like to rely on myself a bit more than on the Merc, I guess I like this setup a bit more. But then again, if you're moving like really slowly through the axe and so on through the map, the Merc won't get, won't get stuck in some corner or anything. So he'll do the job just fine. So it's really whichever you prefer. And yeah, I think that's really it. Yeah, I think I've talked through just about everything. I think I'll make another video on just gameplay. I mean, the kill speed for this Bowazon on players 8 isn't, huge. It's really fucking slow, without a doubt. But then again, I've passed hardcore players 8 with every single class, and with this current gear, I wouldn't say it's that much slower than. I would say it's even faster than a barbarian or windy druid. Like, even necromancer was a pain in the ass to pass with. Sorceress wasn't dealing as much damage, like maybe a bit more due to static field, but that's about it. Trapsin definitely. Well, maybe Trapsin was doing more damage, but then again, not by much. Like, the only champion that really does a lot of damage on players 8, it's Hammered In, and that's it. Unless you have some super then high end game, whatever, like infinities and enigmas and so on, then yeah, like most classes do more damage than Bowazon. But if you don't have that, yeah, I mean, this setup will do just as fine, and it is extremely safe. Like, I think this was the safest class, the safest pass through hardcore players 8 I've ever had. Like, surprisingly. Oh. Yeah, I mean, it might have something to do that I wasted an entire Jar rune and an on just one character. Like, all the others got Vex at most, I think, like for a Heart of Oak. But yeah, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know if you have some feedback or I got something wrong about attack frames or anything, or perhaps Clegloss you think is absolute shit, so I'm kind of overrating it too much. Yeah, do appreciate any feedback, and I'll probably make another video on how this character performs in something like Chaos Sanctuary on players 8, just to kind of showcase it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and see you in the next video.